Tell me a little bit about the Sailor Way Foundation.
Yeah, the foundation, the Sailor Way Foundation, we're changing the name soon. So look for it's going to be called the Foundation United. So, for 11 years, I led a sex trafficking organization, anti-sex trafficking, right? That was domestically focused. I learned a lot, learned who the best leaders were, learned who had a competitive spirit, who didn't understand that if you don't have collaboration, you have nothing. And we really had a vision over a decade ago that at one point we'd launch a foundation to be an umbrella to the movement and take all of the best practices to a scaled exponential level nationally and globally. And so that's what I'm leading now on the foundation side. I have some of the top leaders from some of the top organizations that know together we could go faster, further, do more good. And we're scaling. So like, for example, one organization can educate 8,000, 12,000 kids. But now we're putting our resources together. We've created a train the trainer model. We have 3 bills that just dropped in Congress to mandate it. And we have countries ready to translate it culturally. And we're rolling it out in America first. But it's about teaching children to speak up because, everyone's talking about symptoms over here and sex trafficking and all that. But it's the secret of childhood sexual abuse. It's the secret of not saying something when something happens to you as a child. So this curriculum starts in kindergarten, teaching children to have a voice, and everything we do is systemic training. So from the lunchroom lady to the security guards to the janitors to the bus drivers, not just the teachers, because little Susie might come in on Friday, her world's still intact, and she shows up on Monday and something happened to her over the weekend. Most old paradigms are to have a system go, oh, well, what a bad kid, what happened to her? And she starts getting looked at like she's promiscuous or something's wrong, where in reality, if you train people right, they go to the root and there's intervention that will save a child from later running away into the arms of a predator.
You wrote this book that really intrigued me, which is why I wanted to speak with you, because I believe that there's this reconciliation of people that are groomed. And I come from the sports world, and I know there's some parallels between how women are groomed as well as how athletes are groomed. I was with Michael Phelps earlier this week in my new studio at the Wynn. You see how he was groomed and the traumatic effect that it's had on his life. And I have 3 daughters, and I try not to groom them in a way that would not be open-minded. We groom everyone as parents, so we have an ignorant arrogance about us that we think we know what's best for our kids. What is that book about, and what are the lessons that we want to take away from it?
I think the lessons are that exactly what you said. We've all been groomed. There's subtle messages. So we might not have all been sexually abused, though radically, myself included, most of us have been in some way, shape, or form, right? By the time we hit 18, there's some sexual encounter. But it's more about the false agreements that we come into, things that were subtly said that we came into agreement with, that we went down a road that we chose to take on a facade, put on a mask, play a role. Like I always say, stop being a supporting actress in your own life. Like you should be playing a lead role. You shouldn't be playing supporting. And so often we are raised in an environment that we're taught, hey, if I behave this way, I'm going to give these people around me this outcome. So the chapters get into things that all of us need to look at, like being groomed to be invisible. My big one was groomed to be, they're all me because I wrote it, of course, but groomed to endure what we think is strength. It's like, hello, that's really not strength. That's learning to stay in an abusive situation. But so often it's about, just stand, just try harder. You can do it. Just push. I used to say, if I could save a girl from sex trafficking, I could certainly save this marriage. But that part of it wasn't mine to save. And I think we have all these broken messages. When my agent approached me and he's like, you need to write. I got the big 5 pub houses. They want to hear from you. They need a new voice. I'm like, I'm going through a divorce. My brain is trauma. I don't even know who I am. And I went to a 5-day retreat for some inner healing and just really digging in. And I came out of it. I'm like, I'm going to call the book God Was My Pimp, because I did everything right and I got sold out anyway. I was the good girl and I had it all just taken from me and I was screwed. And so I think that it's a beautiful book. What I've had like the joy and privilege of doing is leading these groups around the country. So people pop on from Alaska, Nashville, all over, and the things that they're finally saying, because like you said, we internalize it, we keep it inside, and giving it voice, it loses its power. So it's like the most awakening book. It's fascinating. I wrote it in extreme pain, but I think it was like the blood of my trauma. It's awakening and freeing others, because it is having amazing outcomes for people, undoing things they never even tapped into before.